Hilchas Gzeilah V'Aveidah Perik Shishi. Koiros v'avonim ve'etzim u'ki'etzeben sheshotvam hanor, which the river is washing them away, is im nisyaishu abayil mehen harei mutarim ve'hem shel matzilon ve'im ene yedem nisyaishu oyulei nisyaishu is chayiv lahavzer. So Rambam is really saying two dinim. First of all, you need yush. In order for it to be mutter by koiros v'avonim sheshotvam hanor, you need yush. And secondly, we don't know that there was yush. We only have to know if it's im nisyaishu abayil mehen harei mutarim. However, you don't know that he was Nisyaishu Chayiv Lahazav. If they're running after it, so not only you don't know that it was Yush, you see there was no Yush. So then it doesn't belong to the person that was Matzel. Lefichach Hamatzel min Hanohar or Umizute Shel Yam, which is the tide of the sea that overflows and then comes back. So he saves it from Mizute Shel Yam. Or Mishlelus Shalor, which is also the overflowing of the river, or Min Hagoyim, or Min Hadleiko, Min Hariu, Min Hadev, Min Hanomim, Min Habaglas. In other words, there's this matzav where these things are in the sakana, and he went ahead and saved it from that matzav. Is im yada bevadish nisyaishu abaylim is arelu shalei. However, v'im le yada yaser. So he has to be aware that nisyaishu abaylim. He has to be aware that nisyaishu abaylim. Mashengen, if he's not aware that was nisyaishu abaylim, so then is yachser. So in other words, the Pashas Advarim is that it's Lav Davka that was Yush. Even you could have learned L'chura that Lav Davka was Yush because Lav Davka he knows about it. That would be L'chura also a Pashto way of learning it. But the Pashas Aloshan that says so if the Bailam Merat from Achreim, so even though he knows about it, but it's Lav Davka that was Yush, we see he's not being Misyayish. Now the Maisa is that the Rambam later on in Perek Yud Aleph Halacha Yud brings down the Gemara, which is a Gemara before Gemara in Elam Tzir, that speaks about that something that was Bezute Shel Yam. So the Rambam says that Hamatzel, the Rambam says that if a person Hametzi Aveidah Bezute Shel Yam or B'Shlusa Shel Nor Sheini Pesach Afal Pishain Sheyesh Basimin, so the din is Harezu Shel Meitza. Why? Shenamar Ashatevet Mimenu Umetzasa. So we learn out Misha Avuda Mimenu Mitzuye Etzel Koladim. Yotzes Azu Shavuda Mimenu Ukalodim Shezeh Vade Nisyayish Menu. So the Rambam clearly writes that it's a Vade that is Nisyayish Menu, which Bepashtus means, like the Gemara Bama says Mefurish, that even if he's running after it, but Lepel, the fact that he's running after it's like he's running after a Svinosi Shetavi Bayam, Memela it's Vade Nisyayish Menu. Is the Maisa is that Rambam also? Not everyone agrees to that Rambam, because there's some Rishonim that learn that from the Rambam seems that the reason why over there it's Harei Shalei is because we neman vaday nisyayish menu, and even if he's tiny lay nisyayish, even though there's a simon, but nevertheless we say vaday nisyayish menu. But if that's the word, so the chura if Hitaka didn't know about it, there's this matzav of zuti shalyam shulisa shenor that he didn't know about it, so the chura would go into a gather of yesh midas. But other Rishonim learn that it's not the pshat is the reason why over there it's his, is because Vadi Nisyayish Menu. The reason why it belongs to the person that founded it is because this massive in itself, without Yush, is already considered Eina Shalei. And there's something which is Avuda Mimenu Umikol Adam. In order, when do you declare if he was Yush or not? It was Avuda Mimenu, but Mitzuye Etzul Kol Adam. Masha'inkin, if it's Avuda Mimenu Mikol Adam, so the fact that he was Miyash or not Miyash is not Negeh. So therefore, even if he didn't know about it, the Etzem Matzav was also a reason for it to be Arei Shalei. That's how it comes out according to the Shitzas Arosh over there. But that's been again that din. But L'chura, even the Rambam, which the Rambam holds that you nem on that there was Yush, but the Rambam says Vada Nisyayish, and the Pashtus Advarim is even if he's claiming that he wasn't Nisyayish. And over here the Rambam is saying Fakir. The Rambam is saying that the Pashtus is he wasn't Nisyayish. In other words, unless you know from Eina Yedem Nisyayish or Le Nisyayish, you don't know they was Nisyayish, so you don't know money was Nisyayish. The Pashtus means even if he's aware of it, you know he's aware of it, but you don't know he was Nisyayish, and nevertheless we say that it's Lavda was Nisyayish. So l'chur it's a stira from this halacha. I mean, it's a stira between the two Rambams, and it's also the l'chur Pashtus is a stira to the Gemara, where the Gemara says when it's Avudim Bimenu Mikol Adam, so then it's mutter. So the Ramah brings from the Avin Ozel that he says that over here it's talking about Hamatzel min Hanor Mizut Shel Yam. Whereas over there, we're talking about it was already in the Zutishalam, it was already in the Shul Nor. So then, at that point in time, it's a pashtus that he was miyayish. Ashenkin over here, it's not that it actually was in the Shul Nor. The Shul Nor was coming towards it. That is the Zutishalam. Whereas it was in a sakana of being swept away, but it wasn't actually already swept away. So b'chiyai gavna over here we say that it's lav davki was miyayish, and therefore only if you know he was miyayish he's chayv. And the Maisa is that in the beginning of the Rambam, the first halacha is keres v'avonim sheshot from anor. We're talking about already shot from anor, not so glati. But that's how he answers that there shouldn't be the steer in the Rambam that seems to be over here that you have to know that he was miyayish, and over there we neman bepshitos that he was miyayish. Halacha gimel. Hamatzel miyad listim Yisrael. Again, there's a listim Yisrael, and he goes and is being matzel miyad listim Yisrael. So the din is harei elu shalei. Why? Mepnei shestam hadover shenisyai shvabayl. We never that if there was the listim Yisrael, the baylo were miyayish. However, v'miyad shalei nisyai, it's only because we never the pashtas he was miyayish. But if we know that he was not miyayish, it's like a chayiv lahavzer. That's when we're talking about a listim Yisrael. Aval matzel mitzad listim goy, a muchas goy, which we learned before, muchas has a din of a listim. It's Aveda's list. It's an umnus of listim. So someone that's matzel miad listim goy, mitzad muchas goy, which stole from you. So the din is chayiv lahavzer. Not stole from someone, rather stole from someone. So the din is chayiv lahavzer. Why? Shestam advarim shlei nisyai shobayim. So here the Rambam is not making a distinction. Gemara, there's a chiluk, there's a mandama that holds that there's a difference between a ganav and a gazlan. The Rambam is not making a chiluk really between a ganav and a gazlan, but a gay yush. The Rambam is making a chiluk between a yid and a goy. That by a yid, the stomach the dvarim that he was messiahish. If we're talking about a listim Yisrael, the stomach is that he was messiahish, and we're dealing with a listim goy, so then it's the stomach dvarim that he wasn't messiahish. And fakir them yada bevade messiahish. But if we know that by the listim goy he was also messiahish, so then it's a real shalei. Now, stam listim Yisrael nisyayish rabaylam, or stam goyle nisyayish. Why is it if the yid was the listim, then we know that he was messiahish, and if the goy was the listim, we know he was not messiahish. Mipnei shabaylam yoidim shahagoyim machzirim miyad hagazlan afal pi she'ein shomeidim shegozel ele berayis ru'ui sume'oy midadas. In other words, if the goy was the gazlan, so you don't have to take the goy to a yiddish bezin, you can take the goy to a goyish bezin, and you can be moitzi from the goy the way the goyim are moitzi. And since goyim are moitzi from gazlonim, even berayis and ru'uis, because you don't have to have edi riya mamish, even though it's evidence which is not mamish clear, b'chinas raya brura, so they could also be moitzi moment from a gazlan, a goy. Masha'inkin, if it's a listim Yisrael, you can't take to a bezin a goy. You have to take him to a bezin Yisrael. And a bezin Yisrael will only be moitzi if you have a raya brura. So memelis, you won't be able to have a raya brura necessarily. So therefore we neman that by a listim Yisrael you're miyayish. That's the beer why by a listim Yisrael the pashtus he was miyayish, and by a listim akum the pashtus he was not miyayish. Now the shaila is also what's this pshat hamatzel miyad listim Yisrael? What happened over here? Whereas the chura the pashtus is the goy had it already, the listim has it already, and now you took it away from him. You took it away from the listim Yisrael. It's like whereas as far as the nignav is concerned, him is not negeh. It's hamatzel miyad listim Yisrael. L'chura over here, the pshat is someone stole from him, but now you're grabbing it away from that ganav. Almost sounds like a goyniv menaganav or a goyzel menaganav. The shaila is that the Avnozl asks that l'chura we learned before that according to the Rambam that when a ganav sells something to someone and this new person owns it with yiyush and shina rishus, so be'etzem it's his, but on the other hand he has to pay for it. In other words, for him to keep it from the original balabas, he has to pay for it. In other words, it's his, but he has to pay for it. It's just if there's a din of takanas ashuk. In other words, if lepel he paid for it already, and now you want him to pay again for it, so the din is no, that it's a takanas ashuk, he doesn't have to pay for it. But the etzem, someone that's you're kind of with yush and shina rishus, the nulekech has to pay for it. And over here, it doesn't sound like he's paying for it. It sounds like a matzal miyad listim Yisrael. He's not paying for it. That's the kasha that he's asking. Why doesn't he have to pay for it? But the ma'ase is it's not so clear that the listim had it already. In other words, it's not so clear that the listim has. It says hamatzal miyad listim Yisrael. It could be that it's not matzal, that something is the listim are there, and because of the listim, so therefore the matzav is a matzav where he's miyayish. In other words, it's not that the listim have it already. The listim, it's in a matzav where, let's say, the listim are there, and he knows he's going to have to take it from him. He's going to take it from the listim is going to come take it from him. And now this person goes ahead and grabs it. He grabs it and knows he doesn't let the listim take it. He takes it. So there's a matzav, something belongs to a yid. Let's say it finds itself in a Rishus Harabim or a shayara, a place where the item is not yet biyad listim, but the matzav that the listim are there causes that this yid should be mesiyayish from it. It's no longer b'shusay, it's lying somewhere, and he was mesiyayish from it. Now another yid goes ahead and he grabs it and doesn't let the listim take it. So the question, who does it belong to? So we say, since the original owner, if the original owner was mesiyayish, so now it belongs to the person that was matzil. Mashenkin, if the original person wasn't mesiyayish, so then it wasn't. So then it doesn't. So then it belongs to the original owner. So it's not really over here ma'aseh with a gneva and a shin rishus. It was never biyad halistim, which is consistent to what we said before, that hamatzal min hanor also, it wasn't yet in the nor. It was being matzal min hanor. It was about to get into the nor. And over here also we're saying halacha gimel hamatzal yad listim. It wasn't yet biyad listim. It was just about to get into the hands of the listim. That's l'chura also when you say hamatzal min hariyim and hadev. It doesn't mean the Ari and the Dave has it already, but pashtus. Because to be matzil from an Ari and Dave that already has it is not really a regular thing. It means the Ari and Dave are going to get it, and now he was matzil. He didn't let the Ari and Dave get it. Halacha dalet. Shachalayim hatzoimchim b'teich hapishton. Shachalayim is cress, which is growing in the flax. So the din is hamalakton kshein lachen, when they're still moist, and they didn't dry out yet, and you go ahead and take it out of the pishton, is ein b'shum gezel, there's no gezel. In other words, there's no gezel to take out this shachalayim from the pishton. Why? Mipnei she'im mafsid na pishton shabal asad. The balasad is happy for you to take it out because they're ruining his field. However, v'im yafshu, if they already dried out, so whatever they were going to ruin the pishton, they did already. So now whatever is left over from this shachalayim, the balabas wants. So therefore, asur mishum gezel. So now to take the shachalayim after they were yavshu would be also mishum gezel. Shekvar ifsida, mash ifsida, whatever they're gonna ruin. They ruined already. Now v'imhoyo alagvol. This whole din is when it's semchim b'techa pishton. But if it's not mamish b'techa pishton, it's only on the edge of the field, which is a field of pishton. So then it's a asur and a field kshein lachen. Because when did they ruin the pishton? Only when the b'techa pishton. Masha'inkin, when they are on the edge of the field, which has pishton, so then they're not ruining the pishton. Halacha hey. Kvar biyarnu b'niski moment, shahamoitzi tivnei v'kashi l'shus harabim, ein bei mishum gezel. So he's putting out his tevin and his kashi in the shus harabim for people to trample on it, and therefore as a result of that it's going to become fertilizer, and he's not allowed to do that. And if he does it, the Chacham gave him a knas, that anyone that goes ahead and takes that tevin v'kash, it's his. That's going to get tevin v'kash, which really is becoming improved by it being outside, so therefore people are very interested in doing it, and as a result of that, they gave a knas. Avol hametzi hagol l'shus harabim, someone that takes out the manure, the animal waste to the shus harabim. Ben b'shas etzos ezvon, the time when they're taking out this zevel in order to the sodis, so that time you're allowed to be moitzi the zvol into shus harabim al manas to bring it to the fields, or ben shlei b'shas etzos ezvon, in the time when you're really not allowed to take out the zevel into the shus harabim, because that's not really the time when people are transferring this zevel to the fields. But either way is chayav malei mishum gezel. In other words, this din that the Chacham instituted, that if someone comes ahead and takes it, he's allowed to take it. That was only b'negei tevin and kash. And over there, there was also a suffix whether or not the tevin and kash only after it was already enhanced, it was made better, or even before it was made better. Lepel, if you took it even before it made better, so you can emitzi in the other. But I'll call upon over there by tevin and kash, which is getting better in the shus harabim by people trampling on it. So there was a special knas that he should lose it. Masha'in kein b'negeya the glolim, so there was never such a knas. So therefore, chayav malei mishum gezel. Halacha vov. Mi shenischalfu lekelev bekelev acherim bebeis ha'ovel e bebeis hamishta. So now as a person, for example, hangs up his coat in a beis ha'ovel or in beis hamishta, and then he goes and he takes the wrong coat, and he realizes that maybe his coat was similar to someone else's coat, or his clothes was similar to someone else's clothes, and therefore he took someone else's clothes, and someone else must have taken his clothes. So the question is, he's allowed to use this clothes that he took, because it's not really his. So the din is arez leishtamish b'hem. So this clothes, which he knows aren't his, even though chances are that the person that owns this clothes has his clothes, but nevertheless, these clothes that he took, arez leishtamish b'hem, achiyavi halah, unless until the other person comes, v'yazar, he returns the clothes that he took, which is really the clothes of this person, and then v'yitel shalein, he'll take his clothes. So Mimela, so if Reuven and Shimon exchanged coats, so now Reuven has Shimon's coat, and Shimon has Reuven's coat, so Reuven is not allowed to use Shimon's coat, and Shimon is not allowed to use Reuven's coat. That's talking about, we're dealing in a Beis HaAvel, a Beis HaMishta. However, in the Schalful, a Beis HaUman, because you gave in something to fix, you gave in something to fix, and Lepel, you came back, the Uman gives you the item that you're supposed to have back that was fixed, and then you realize that it's not really your item. You gave him a pair of shoes to fix, and now you come home and you realize it's not your shoes, it's not your original shoes. This Chalfulei Bebeis Uman says as im ishteu banav shalumen nosnulei, if the person that in the Beis Uman, the person that gave it to him was the Uman's wife or the Uman's children, eshenosnulei Uman, or even if the Uman gave it to him. And v'amalei tel kelecha, take it, this is yours, you're looking for your shoes, these are your shoes, this is your clothes, so the din is hareza li'ishtamishbem, so you're not allowed to use it. Because he was giving it to him, basically he made a mistake, he thought this was his, and in reality it wasn't his. At sheyavi Allah, until this other person which has yours, sheviyaz, he'll return yours, and v'yitel shaleim, and he'll take his, or you'll take yours. So b'kitzur ha'maisa, you can't use someone else's things which was exchanged in the Beis HaUman. However, Amalei Ha'uman tul keliza. So as you coming along, you're saying you're coming back for your item, and he doesn't say this is yours. He says take this item. So the din is hareze yishtamish bey. So then he could use it as sheyavi Allah v'yachze v'yitel shalei, unless this other person comes, which is the original owner of this item that you have, and he's going to come and return the item that he has, and he'll take this item. In other words, unless he comes and you gave him a jacket to a tailor to fix. Now lepel, you come home, the tailor gives you the jacket, and you realize it's not your jacket. So it depends. If he told you, here's your jacket, so the din is you're not allowed to use this jacket. It's not your jacket. You have to wait until there's exchange. You find out who really has your jacket, and whose jacket do you really have. Masha'inkin, if he didn't tell you this is your jacket, he says, here, take this jacket. So then you're allowed to use it until that person comes and says, listen, you have my jacket, and I'll give you back your jacket. Why? Why are you allowed to use it? Because over here there's a concern, there's a possibility, Shem Kelev Shalomanu, maybe really it's the Uman's Keli. You know, the Uman realized that he accidentally gave away your Keli, and therefore he's coming, he's saying, here's this jacket. In other words, he's not saying this is your jacket. Bama says, Taka, not your jacket. It's my jacket. But on the other hand, since I owe you a jacket, in other words, I took your jacket and I must have given it to someone else, and I'm giving you another jacket. So we don't assume that he accidentally gave him someone else's jacket. Or it's another possibility, that Bala Keli Tzivas Uman L'Machrele, there's the person, this Bala Keli, knows the person that owns this jacket that the Uman gave, really, the Uman was supposed to sell this jacket and for somebody. And Lepel, he must have sold your jacket. He was supposed to sell someone else's jacket, and he ended up selling your jacket. So now he's giving you that jacket which he was supposed to sell. But I'll call upon him, it's not really so sure that it's a mistake. So we're saying over here, the first din is l'chura pashut, that since this item is not yours, so even though the person that owns this item has your item possibly or probably, but nevertheless you're not allowed to use this item. It's not your item. He never gave you a right to use it. So mainly you have to wait until he returns the coat, and then you'll return him his coat, and then you'll use your coat. That's this din. That's the din Beis HaOvel, Beis HaMishna. Al derezen Beis HaUman, if the person is giving you officially that it's yours, and you say take yours, either the children or the wife of the Uman or the Uman himself says here's your coat, so you take your coat, and if it's not your coat, you're not allowed to use it. But if the Uman says take this coat, he didn't say take your coat, he says take this coat, and there's a possibility, it's not really clear that the coat is yours, but there's a possibility that the coat is yours, that coat is yours, in other words, that you're allowed to use it, it's not someone else's, it's not a mistake. So b'chiyai gavna, we neman that you're allowed to use it until you find out differently. That's this thing. Halacha zayin. Dvarim harbe osru chachamim mishum gezel. Because even though Minater it's not Gezel, but the Chacham said that as a din of Gezel, and V'Hoiver Aleim is a Reza Gazel Midavreim. So he's considered a Gazel Midavreim, and all the consequences of being a Gazel Midavreim is, a Gazel Midavreim we're going to learn, you can't be Meitzi B'Dayona from a Gazel Midavreim. But on the other end, there's Pasal Eid, there's different dinim of being a Gazel Midavreim. Kigoin, Mafricha Yoinim, which the Ram is going to tie choice, V'Hamasach can be Kuvia. And people that are Mafricha Yoinim or Mesach can be Kuvia, they both go into together. That's Gezel Midavreim, and therefore they have a din of a Gezel Midavreim. Mafricha Yoinim, Ketzah, what is it? Le'afriach Adam B'Teicha Yishuv. This vice is a certain sport of having the yoinim fly. It doesn't really say what the Seder Advarim is. The yoinim, you have your yoinim flying away. So the Seder is that the yoinim flies away and it comes back. Shaharei lekeach mamanachem shalekidin. What's the problem? The problem is because when a yoinim flies away, he very often comes back with its mate. So he sends away a yoinim, either a zachar or a nekeva, and they come back with either a zachar or a nekeva. So in Meilah, mipnei shemishaleach zachar v'yavi nekeva m'shevach acher, or nekeva v'tavi zachar. So Memela, so it's Gezel Midivreim. And first of all, it's not sure, and also the fact that this person owns the yoinim in a shevach is also not so clear that it's mamish his minatera on a minatera level, because the yoinim are keeping flying away. So Memela, it's not really such a kinyan. So therefore, the whole musig that your yoina is going to bring another yoina from a different shevach is not really Gezel Minatera, and therefore this is Gezel Midivreim. So this is Gezel Midivreim, and therefore the person that does it is considered Gezel Midivreim. There's nachamol. You're not allowed to be mafriach yoinim b'yishuv, because when you're mafriach yoinim b'yishuv, so over there's other yoinim that will belong to other people. There are other sheikhim that belong to other people, and there's a concern that this yoina is going to bring back to you another yoina, his mate. Now, only on yoinim, al kol ha'esek kazeh b'shar efes, where again the chayim behema goes and brings back another chayim behema. Now derazeh b'negeya shar efes is also a gezel devreim. Now over there, l'chura, the thing does belong to that other person, but on the other end, it's not. You're not stealing from that person. It's no this behema is going ahead and taking back those chayis nefes to you. So I'll call upon him. So that's a ma'aseh gzeilah midrabanan. To be a mafriach yenim is a gezel midivreim. That's the number one. Halacha ches v'chein asur chacham lotzud yonim b'techa yishuv, to go ahead and trap doves in a place where people live, in b'techa yishuv, in the settlement, in the place where people live. You're not allowed to trap yonim mipnei shein shel acherim. Presumably these are not hefker; they belong to people. So therefore, you're not allowed to go trap it. And also, in person nishevim liyonim, to go ahead and spread out nets, nor traps for these doves. Elim kain. Hirchik min hayishuv arba milim. You have to be away from the yishuv arba milim. A mil is 2,000 amas, so you have to be away from the yishuv 4 milim, which is 8,000 amas. V'im hoya yishuv kramim, and if next to the yishuv there was like an extension of vineyards, so then is afilu mea mil. Even if the kramim extend 100 mil away from the yishuv, is leifresh hayonim shel bali kramim. The yonim belong to the bali kramim. And those, if these kramim extend very far, but lepel, and you're going to go ahead and put out traps for these yoinim, so we can assume that the yoinim belong to the people that own the vineyards. V'chein leyifreis b'techa shevchim. In other words, you have a shevach, which is a place where the yoinim stay, and the dove coops, and over there you can have like an extension from the yishuv. You can have a lot of shevchim, one after the other. So you're not allowed to spread out traps in the shevchim, afal pi shein shaloi, even though the shevchim are yours, or shel goy, or they belong to a goy or shel hefker. V'afal pi shehirchik min hayishuv mea mil. Again, mipnei shayonim boys liyishuv hashevchim. I don't have the case clear, but the nekudas advarim is you're not allowed to go ahead and trap yoinim in a place where there's a concern that the yoinim don't belong to a person. So normally b'tech hayishuv there's always such a concern. And al derazeh, if there's an extension of kramim, you have to go away from the yishuv 4 mil, that's normally. And then if there's an extension of kramim coming from the yishuv, so even if it's 100 mil, you're also not allowed to be trapped the yoinim, because we're afraid that the yoinim are coming from the bali akramim and they belong to people. And al derazeh, if it's an extension of shevchim, so and even if you're going to go ahead and a shevach of goy or a shevach of hefker, and you're going to go and trap yoinim to take it, so we say that these yoinim go from one shevach to another shevach. They travel through the shevchim. Halacha tes. Marchikim is a shevach min ha'ir chamishim amma. Here's fakert. You have a shevach with yoinim, and you don't want that your shevach should go ahead and do damage to other people. Because you have a shevach, and these yoinim are yours. You're not making any traps in the shevchim. You own a shevach, but this shevach you should be marchik min ha'ir chamishim amma. V'liyasa adam shevach b'teich sodeu. Elim ken yeshle chamishim amma l'charuach. There should be 50 amma radius around the shevach to any other field that belong to other people. Kedei shel yimoshchu gzeilas v'yafsu b'sad. So these gezelas, these birds, shouldn't go and ruin other people's fields. So in other words, you shouldn't have a shevach in a place with your yoinim or with your birds, and that's going to cause damage to other people's fields. So it should be at least 50 amas away. There should be a 50 amma radius between your shevach and the other property. And v'yafsidu b'sad v'yechlu b'shem acherim. Now, if you went ahead and bought a field from someone else, and there was already a shevach, and the shevach was there, and it wasn't 50 amas away, Beis Reva, which is a very small amount, and Beis Reva Akav, which is like 10 amas or so, a little bit more than 10 amas, Bilvad, is a Reva B'chizkasi. You don't have to be marchik. In other words, we say that the pastor, somehow or another, there was rishus taken. He was given rishus from the people around, and therefore he was allowed to have the shevach over there, and now you're buying this field, so you could continue having the shevach there. So that's been again this din of mafricha yenim. So you learned about being mafricha yenim. You're not allowed to be mafricha yenim in the yishuv, and you're not allowed to set up nets in the yishuv for yenim, and al derech zeh, you're not allowed to, you have to be marchir, because ha-shevach from the ear 50 am, and in your field you also have to be marchir the shevach from the ear 50 ams. In the field you have to also be marchir 50 ams. Halacha yud. It's interesting because there's kama dinim which are halachas of what you're not supposed to do in your possession, which is going to ruin other people. And that's really halachas which belong in Hilchos Shchenim. There's kama dinim, when they digging beres, all kinds of dinim of not doing things in your possession which is going to ruin other people. Over here, we're talking about marchiknas hashevach min ir chamishim amar, because we don't want that your yoinim should cause damage to other people. But Lepil, the Rambam puts it in Hilchos Gzeilah V'Aveidah. It's not in Hilchos Shchenim. Halacha Yud. Ha-mesachkim bekuvya ketzad. What is mesachkim bekuvya? Is elu she-mesachkim be'etzim, e-betzreiris, e-batzomis, e-ketzim. They have things that they play with. We usually play cards. And ve'oisim t'nai b'neim. And they have this type of a game amongst them. And they make a t'nai. Shekol ha-nitzeches chaveri be'esi schek. Is yikach mimenu kach v'kach. In other words, whoever wins this game, whatever game they have, so he will get whatever they make up with. So the din is hareza gezim with the vreim. So you go ahead and take this money after you made up that if whoever wins will take this money, is considered gezim with the vreim. Aval b'shem b'resein abayim lokach. He didn't take the money against his will. That was the deal, and that person gave the money willingly. Aber heil v'lokach mamen chaveri b'chinam derech scheit v'hitl. Whereas he's taking money, there was nothing really happened. There was derech schek v'hitl, and they're playing a game, and as a result of this game, he goes ahead and he's taking money for this game. So that's considered as a gezel. So the Rambam doesn't really say over here the idea of a smachta lekanya, that he wasn't really expecting to give you the money, and therefore he never really made up to give you the money. It's not really a gemiras das. The Rambam just says the musig, someone that takes mammon chaveri b'chinam, derech schek v'hitl, through a game, he's taking money based on a game, that's considered gezel medivrein. V'chein, and the same idea, mesachkim bebehema, e bechaya be'efes, and ve'esen t'nai, that says, we're talking about races, animal races. Ve'esen t'nai, shekoltim tzatzer be'amte, e toretz yeser yikach mechavere kach v'kach, whoever will win in whatever competition they have, or will run faster, or win in any other type of a condition, he will get this and this from the other person. And the chol kiyetzer b'dvarim elu, hakel also, this all goes into the same iser of mesachkim bekuvya, which you're taking money bechinam derech schek v'hitl, and the gezel medivreimu, and this goes into together of gezel medivreim. Halacha yudalef, ha-mesachi bekuvya goy, someone that's mesachi bekuvya goy ain't be'isr gezel. Doesn't have the din of a gezel medivreim. Aval yesh be'isr eser b'dvarim b'telim. Shein roi lo adam sheyasi kol yomav ele b'divrei chachmo, or b'yishuv shaleim. So going ahead and playing bekuvya, which is this type of a game with a goy, is, even though it's not gezel, but on the other hand, it's something which is dvar b'telim, and something which is not royal for a person lasik, because ein esig b'yeshuva shalem. Halacha yud beis. Mitzudeis chayev ve'efes v'dogim. Shenoflu mini hachaya l'techa mitzuda. The person has a trap, and lepel, the trap for a chaya, an a for a dog, and lepel, these things that he's spreading out, putting out the trap for, actually fell into this trap. Now lepel, this trap, we're talking about a trap which wasn't a keli. See, if the trap was a keli, shio keli was koina. We're talking about a trap which wasn't a keli, but the animal was trapped there, or the fish was trapped there. Ubo acher v'notlam, and now the other person comes and takes it out of the trap. So the din is hareza gezum l'devreim. Mipnei she'adayin lehigiu liyad hazechebem. And there's why is it only l'devreim? Because lepel, the person that put out the trap doesn't really own it. It never was yigiu liyadeh. So memela, so therefore it's not really his. But on the other end, since he trapped it, and lepel, as a result of that, it's here and he could get it. So the din is that someone that comes and takes it is gezel midivreim. Halacha Yud Gimel. Nor hamoishech, you have a water, a river that's flowing, or mayonis hanoivim, or you have a spring that's also flowing water. So the din is harein shel koladim. It belongs to everyone. Whereas the water that's coming from this river, or the water that's coming from the spring, belongs to everyone. Now we learned before that if you have, let's say, a spring that's coming out of your property, and that water is gathering your property, so that water is yours. Al that is if you have a spring that belongs to a city, and lepel, the water remains in that city, so the water belongs to the people of the city. But over here, Pashtus, we're talking about it's coming from, let's say, from your property, but it's extending into other places. So now the question is, you're tiny this, since it's coming from your property, so therefore it's yours. That's the chiddush. That nor a river which is flowing and is coming, let's say, through your property, or a mayonis hanevim, so that din is arein shel kolodim. That's din number one. Nochadin oni amenake b'reish hazeisim. Zeisim shel shikha. So the din is, let's say you have an olive tree, and the person forgot some of those zeisim, and lepel, so those zeisim which are on top of the olive tree are considered shikha. So now the oni is coming and he's banging those olives to get those olives to fall down, to be able to pick them up when they fall down. So he's being menake b'reish hazayis, and now acher v'nochel menorah. So after he bangs down the olives from the top of the olive tree, so the olives fall, and another oni comes and takes those olives. So the pale, this oni which knocked him down never really made a Maisa Kinyan. There was no Maisa Agba, no Maisa Kinyan. But the pale, he was an oni. He was being manakiv the ratio olive of the olive. So the din is hareza gezum devreim, which is similar to the idea, just like it was trapped by him, and now someone else is taking it. So he never made a Maisa Kinyan, but he made it happen. So al derazeh, this person, this oni which was manakiv the zayis, he made that zayis fall. Now he wasn't takukainit, so now for the other person to take it, it's considered gezim udevreim. That's talking about if he was being menakeh b'zeisim. However, he was gathering it with his hands, and then Omashul Cholaris, he was throwing it down. So then it's Hareze Gezel Gomer. It's not Gezel Midrabon. He was already kainit. Shari Higil Yad Hazechem. The person, it already was in his possession. So therefore, it's regular Gezel. Halacha Yudalit Hadvarim. Bees are not something which a person owns. In other words, there's bees in your possession, in your property. There's a beehive, and there's bees there. So they're not owned by you like you would own a chicken. They're not part of your possession. But nevertheless, even though menater, it's not really yours. But nevertheless, yeshbem kinyan midivreim. So if you have a beehive in your possession, so those bees are yours midrabon. And therefore, v'hagoizel nechil deveirim, someone that goes ahead and steals a bunch of bees, in other words, those bees, a group of bees, a shemone mib'olav, or there was bees that were supposed to return back to the original owner. In other words, there was bees that was in your possession, and now it finds itself in someone else's possession, and that person is not letting you come and take back those bees. Or shemone mib'olav in Boler Shusei. If it came to his possession, now he's holding back. He's now holding on to those bees. So the din is hareze gezim devreim. It's nachamol. The emes bees don't really belong to anybody. Bees are not something you own. But on the other, midrabanan, if you have a beehive in your possession and there's bees there, so those bees are yours, and therefore no one's allowed to come and take it. If he takes it, he's a gazla midrabanan. And al derez, if your bees went into someone else's possession, and now he's not letting you come and take him back, so he is a gazla midavrein. Lefichach, Mishi Yatzel Nechil Shel Dveirim B'Rishusi. When a group of bees came out of his possession, came out of his Rishus, and then V'Shachar Rishus Chaver, and then it goes and rests in someone else's Rishus. So the din is Yesh LeBal HaNechil Lahalach B'Teich Stei Chaveri Ad Sheitlos Nechilei. Normally you're not allowed to trespass. But on the other end over here, since you're going to retrieve your bees, and these bees are yours midrabanan, so part of that din is also you're allowed to go into that person's in that person's field to go and get back your bees. And them hizik, but if doing that in order to get back your bees, you are mazik as mishal mashahizik. So you're allowed to go and trespass into that other in that other person's property in order to get back your bees. That's also part of this din, because be'etzim and atayr, it's not your bees. So maybe what do you mean you're going in there to get your bees? It's not your bees. But midrabanan is your bees, and therefore if someone takes those bees, it's awesome midrabanan. If that person keeps those bees, it's a isum midrabanan. So therefore you're allowed to go, just like if it would be your item that's in someone's possession. You're allowed to go into that person's possession to get your item back. Normally you're not allowed to trespass, but to go into that person's possession to get your item back, you're allowed to. Saldera's over here, you're allowed to go there to get your bees back. You're not allowed to go ahead, let's say the bees are on a branch, and now you want to take all those bees, so you're going to cut off the branch, and then you'll pay back for the branch. That you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to cut off any branches in order to get your bees. You're allowed to trespass, you're allowed to walk into that person's field to get the bees, but you're not allowed to go ahead and cut off any branches in order to get the bees. Halachat ezvav nemenes isha ikotten leimar mikan yotzin nechilzeh. So in other words, someone comes along and says, where's my bees? So he says, this isha is saying that I saw these bees coming out of this place, and these are these bees. So Memele, so you, the owner of that place, could go ahead and take his bees. Knows you saw that this owner knows that his bees, or we have raya knows this person. You have a person that owns a piece of property and he has bees there. Now comes along someone, he's claiming it's my bees. And Lepeil, we don't know who says it's your bees. So we have an isha or a cotton that's saying, yeah, we saw the bees coming out of place A and going to place B. So the din is the owner of place A could go ahead and take the bees from place B. That's only if they're saying it derech hagav. And so you have someone running after this group of the bees, and Lepel, you have this person saying, yeah, we saw the bees. You're saying, where are they? So they went there. So this person knows this person comes and is taking his bees. So this person says, who says it's your bees? So we say this Isha and this cotton saw these bees coming out of my possession, coming here. And V'shel and Hechen Chena. So again, Nemenes Isha cotton leimar, a person has bees in his possession. Now those bees went away. He's going and looking for them. Now he's going to come and say, it's these are mine. So it says, who says that taka yours? So when you have a person that's running after his bees, and then you have an Isha or a cotton that's saying, we saw these bees coming out of here and going here. So even though normally Isha and cotton aren't believed, they're one person and they're not believed, but nevertheless, if they're being Mesichan B'fni Tumam, so then they're believed, and that entitles the original owner of the bees to go and take the bees from where they're lying right now. Is a mina meisum base. So therefore, the whole thing of kinyan dveirim is only a derabbanan. So the person that the bees are in his possession is also not his. Whereas the whole musig of kinyan dveirim is only a derabbanan. So therefore, we believe the isha or cotton to say that a taka belongs to the original owner, and therefore he's entitled to go ahead and take his bees. Halacha tezayin kol mi sheyesh biyodi gezel shedevreim is eine yoytze miyodi b'dayan. You can't go to Bezdin and say this person did something which causes gezel devreim. You're not allowed to do gezel devreim. Someone that does gezel devreim is pasal edus. But on the other end, to mon the money from the person that did gezel devreim, you can't. V'cheinem kofar bei v'nishba. So normally we're going to learn behamshach that if a person owes somebody money and he denies owing the money and he swears that he doesn't owe the money, and later on he's moida that he does owe the money, so the din is he has to pay a karen v'chemish and also an asham. So he's saying over here that if the person, let's see, someone came and won from you money because of gezel shel devrei, and then that person denied it, and he was nishba that he doesn't owe the money, so the din is ein meisav chemish k'meish chesh b'meisav ala gezel hagomer. Because if he was claimed that he owes gezel gomer, so he taka owes gezel gomer, And he swore that he doesn't, and now he's made that he was nishbal sheker, so then he has to pay keren b'chemish, and there's a dinosham. Mashenkin, if we're dealing with Gezim Devreim, so he doesn't really owe that money. In other words, it's not, he doesn't owe that money in the sense that it's Yetzim Devreim. It's Lasses De Shemayim. He would have to pay it. But it's not Yetzim B'dayonim. So therefore, when he denies it, he's not really being Koifer Mammon, and therefore there's no Chi of Chemish.